What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of VR365, and I gotta tell you folks, we've got another interview for you guys tonight, and I'm really actually, it's not so much of an interview, it's more of a discussion, like a VR roundtable discussion where we're gonna be talking all about PlayStation VR, PlayStation 5, Sony, and what is going on with Sony in regards to VR, because I don't know, they're in a weird spot. And the good news is I've got a couple of experts in the building, dedicated PSVR guys that are joining us right now. I, of course, have Alex and Adam from PlayPSVR and PlayPS5, the podcast. Not the movie, not the TV show. All right, Alex.
Don't get it twisted.
Alex, what is going on, man? How's it going?
Nothing much, man. It's going good. You know, I recently had a baby, and Adam recently finished going through puberty, and so we finally decided to get back in this podcasting game full time. We had a little hiatus with the Play PSVR. We did some other projects. We tried to discuss whole games, and then we got shut down by the law. But no, we're coming back hard. We're ready to fight tooth and nail for our place in this ecosystem. But yeah, things are going good, man. Things are going good.
I'm good. You know, let me ask you really quick though, because you got like a cease and desist letter. Because I listened to a couple of your episodes today that I hadn't listened to your show in a little while. I haven't been listening to any podcasts really, but I was like, well, I'm going to have them on. I better see what they've been up to lately. And you were talking about, like, you guys kept dancing around whatever the name was and stuff. And I was like, what are these guys talking about?
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to be cheeky with it. The fact of the matter is we had a podcast called Game Hole. Thought it went along with our brand a little bit, of the immaturity that we had. Apparently, there's some guy in Wisconsin who runs a board game convention or something. It turns out he's a rather litigious lawyer as well. Sent us a cease and desist. So Adam and I decided, yeah, this isn't really worth the trouble. So we're going to move away from discussing whole games and move into the PS5 era, launch and play PS5. So that's what that's all about. If you love Play PSVR, you want to see how that goes with the PS5, listen to us on Play PS5 as well, man. That's what
Absolutely,
we're doing.
Yeah. Play PS5 is the new thing. In fact, let me go ahead and grab your guys' logo real quick, the new logo that you guys have. And so, yeah, your brand has kind of been like Play PSVR, Play PS5, the podcast, both of them. So it's kind of, that is the brand. One question I do have, though, why don't we go to Adam real quick? Adam, first of all, how's it going? You're in the East Coast, right, Adam? So it's even farther for you, and it's later at night. It must be like 11 p.m. right now or something?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. My testicles just dropped. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Good time. I'm a man now.
You'll go through puberty pretty soon, eventually, right? Huh?
What is it? Mazel tov or bar mitzvah? You guys need to throw me a live bar mitzvah right here on the show. That would be awesome.
Oh, you know, one thing I do real quick. I need to tell anybody in chat. How is our levels in terms of volume? Because in the last couple of shows that I've done, my volume has been way too loud. I think I've turned it down. I think we're about as good as we can get right now. But let us know over there in chat if anybody is like super loud or super weak, and we'll figure that out. We'll try to anyways. But yeah, so you're in the East Coast, and Alex, you're in, are you in like the Minneapolis area?
I'm in no man's land. Yeah, I'm in the Midwest. I'll say that.
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah, so I'm on Central Time. That's good. You know, I'm trying to avoid all those crazy Mountain Time women that come after you. Listen, man, Mountain Time women are crazy.
Oh, yeah. All right, so what we're going to get into today, guys, is it's pretty much like the thumbnail has it. And it's like one of the questions I do want to ask, I mean, I know it's kind of clickbait, and I'm being kind of cute with it and everything. Does Sony care about VR? Do they even care? But honestly, I really do have this question because I'm sure that you guys saw the recent state of play, everybody in the PSVR world was thinking, okay, this is finally our day. This is finally when we're going to find out about all these PlayStation 5 VR games, or we're going to find out that all the games get doubled to 120 frames, or, we're going to find out all this good, juicy information. Maybe even PlayStation VR 2 sneak peek. I doubt it, but who knows, or maybe we'll get a sneak peek on like a super advanced PlayStation 5 VR game or something. But it seemed like we didn't get any of that. And then also, besides just state of play, like if we look at this entire year, and even going back into the last year, I've made the art, like I'm a fan of PlayStation VR. PlayStation VR is crazy underrated. I love PlayStation VR. It's a good system. It's got quality games. You can have a freaking awesome time on PlayStation VR if you pick the right games. But I gotta tell you, man, over this like last 18 months or whatever, it's been almost all third parties, like this game Gorn, Saints and Sinners, Pistol Whip. I mean, these are all good games, but like, where's Sony? Does Sony give an F? So why don't we go ahead and go over to Alex first. Alex, the question is, does Sony even give a damn about VR? What's up with them, dude?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of felt that way from the beginning. And PSVR has kind of had this vibe of like the PS Vita, where it's kind of like Sony released it into the wild. Whoever got one loved it, wanted as much as they could get of it. But Sony just seemed to like, push it out there, give a couple first-party titles, give it that initial push, and then forget about it, take their hands off of the situation. And even the well has dried up a little bit. So it was relying on third parties a lot, and now it's relying on them even more. And with all of the mystery surrounding the next generation, it just seems like Sony's kind of tied up dealing with whatever's going on behind the scenes of the PlayStation 5, whatever's causing them to play their cards so close to their chest. And it's just kind of left us with, whoever needs to finish up whatever games they're making. I guess they're trying to finish them up now, or deciding to just move on to the PlayStation 5 and do PSVR over there. That's my guess as to what's happening. But I think Sony has something in mind for the PSVR, because they otherwise they wouldn't have made it supported on the PlayStation 5. Like, it's a very easy thing. Don't make the camera. But they made a new next gen camera. Obviously, they got something.
Well,
going on there.
The camera actually. We found out some information about the camera, because when I first saw the camera, I was scared to death, man, because I was like, oh shit, why do they got a camera again? Don't tell me PlayStation VR 2, when we finally do get that, like, don't tell me that's going to use a camera and it's going to use actual visual lights and stuff, because I want it to be like the Oculus Quest, like an inside-out tracking, so that, 360, like the biggest problem with PlayStation VR as it is, I always call it has a cone of vision. It's like you set your PlayStation VR camera up high so it can shower down upon you, and it'll give you the best, like you'll get the best tracking if you kind of have it up high and you have it coming down on you. But it does have a cone of vision, and if you stray a little too far out of, you get twisted this way or that way, it starts to break on you. And I was scared with that camera, but what we found out, though, is that, well, I don't know, the camera still might factor in. We don't know. We found out that there's a little adapter that you can get you have to use the old PlayStation camera. So if you buy a PlayStation 5 this November and you want to play your original PlayStation VR on it, you're going to be able to do that, but you actually have to get an adapter that Sony is supposedly going to mail you. Which that's kind of weird, because it's like, why can't they put that little adapter in the box or something? Because it's like, oh, I'm going to send in a mail order. Like, am I going to cut out the back of a cereal box and send in a couple of little stamps, and Sony's going to send me a special badge and a little microphone adapter? Adam, what do you think about like this idea? Like the camera's there. We're still going to be using a camera. We get to use all these accessories on PlayStation 5. Do you think we're going to need, it's going to have its own, like, are we going to hook up the processing box to the back of PlayStation 5? Or will we be able to bypass that? I mean, obviously we have no idea, but you can speculate on it.
Yeah, I think I haven't even gotten too much chance to dive into and have a wish list for PSVR 2, other than the fact I do not want cables anymore. That's my biggest thing Honestly, I feel like my camera for the PSVR works pretty well. So, although it's not ideal, if we do have to purchase that adapter or mail it in, it's a bit of an inconvenience. Some games it doesn't work great, but that's not a deal breaker for me. Still going to use it. It's not going to make or break the PSVR 2. And I think in general, I'll answer this question, then I will go back and answer the one I had something to addition to what Alex said. But the camera, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it would be a very big jump to have a PSVR 2 that wouldn't need a camera and still have the original headset. Because if they updated it too much, now our original headset would be a waste. It not going to be compatible with PS5 probably. And then you have people angry, oh, I spent $400 on this headset. I used it for 2 years, and now the next gen doesn't support it. I mean, either way, you're probably going to get somebody angry. But I don't know. I'm okay with it. The mail-in rebate thing or whatever it is, that's a little odd. But
let me tell
you.
you. That is how you're gonna make some money, man. Because anytime you got something weird like a mail-in rebate, you're not gonna be able to get one 5 years from now. It's like the Xbox Kinect camera adapter or something like that. If you want to make a bunch of money off of your PlayStation VR, hold on to one of those camera adapters. Hold on to the whole thing. Some guy just like me, 10 years from now is gonna be like, I want to play PSVR on my PlayStation 5. I have to do it right now. And that's how you're gonna do it. You're gonna make billions of dollars. Invest in that adapter right now. Find it on Robinhood. Throw some
Get
cash
some
at it.
extra adapters and leave them sealed in their plastic case so you can sell them on eBay 20 years later. It's an interesting thing. The whole adapter thing is kind of weird. But Adam, actually, I want to go back to the does Sony give a damn question, because what I want to ask you it from this standpoint. So a lot of times I tell people, I'll talk about like Sony doesn't seem to be giving a damn this year too much, or even last year. Like, where's their big games? Where's their support? Like, I feel like they have an obligation to like provide some stuff, And I know they provided Iron Man, but goddamn, like one game for the entire year. Like, I thought they would have a game like every single quarter, or at least, But one of the arguments I'm always hearing from people is they'll say, well, it's a transitional year, man. PlayStation 5. Sony's distracted. It's all about PlayStation 5 this year. It's not about PlayStation VR. And a part of me wants to strangle these people because I want to say, wait a minute. Sony came out with a box. I have one back there. They sold this thing in stores. They basically created their own platform, their own ecosystem. In my opinion, PlayStation VR, it's a peripheral, but it's a system. It has its own library of games. It's a system. And if you bring out a system as the first party, as the company that released this thing, don't you have an obligation to continue to bang with like a few legitimate heavy hitters?
Yeah, it certainly would be nice. I'm not worried for a couple reasons about the PSVR in general. So the first thing, to address the games, it would be obviously nice they supported more games. But looking back, to be honest, a lot of the games that Sony put a lot of their foot behind have sucked. Like Bravo Team was garbage. The Impatient was trash. The Firewall, which, they heavily supported, there's definitely a huge community for it, but I think for the common person, I don't like it. Alex doesn't like it. I mean, and that's a game that's supposed to be huge. So a lot of the Sony titles, I don't even think have been that good. So all the games I truly love are like Rush of Blood, To the Top, Rez, like things that aren't really, they're third party. So I'm perfectly fine with getting third party games. Now, if we stop getting games in general, that's going to be an issue, and that is concerning. But I think as it is now, and I'll let Alex speak if he's concerned, but as far as games, I'm not really concerned. I would rather them focus on PS5, let that be successful, and then lead into the next generation of PSVR 2 successfully, rather than crapping out a couple bad games to make us feel better.
You heard the man. You heard the man. He was talking about they're working on PS5. Strangle him right now, man. Strangle him. Get him off my podcast. No, so I mean, we're forgetting one thing. This is a big release that came out this year. Was Dreams VR. I mean, and everything you're hearing about Dreams VR is great. I've played a little bit of it. You know, I'm not patient enough to make games on it, but that's a pretty big title. I think Sony put a lot of effort and stock into that, considering how delayed the VR implementation of it was. I was totally expecting them to back out of that and not use it. Something tells me that they expected a lot to happen with Dreams VR. And if you go on there, you do a little research and find where the good games are, then there is a lot happening with it, a lot of fun stuff going on there. But it's hard to find, but there's a community that's going to help you out. So I think that's their heaviest hitter, and it looks great. It's blowing people away with how well it works. Any game that somebody makes in Dreams is automatically converted to VR capable. That's pretty phenomenal. People who don't even have a PSVR can make a PSVR game. That's ridiculous.
Hey, here's a question. So Dreams, I got to admit, like, I was interested in Dreams like hella years ago when I first found out about it, but it kept getting delayed, and I eventually kind of forgot about it. And then now it's like, and then it came out for flat, but we were waiting for the VR update for a long time. Now it's finally happened, and it's here, and it's available, and some people are really loving it. Other people are a little bit more mixed about it. My question, so Alex, you've played this, right, yourself? Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
One of the questions I have is going back to like Little Big Planet on PlayStation 3. I was the type of guy that I'm not going to be making anything because I just don't really have the time to do it. And if I had that much time, I might as well learn Unity or something, right? And try to make some real money, right? But when I had a PlayStation 3, I got Little Big Planet, and it had a platform game in it that was built by Media Molecule, like an entire game, right? And the floaty jump was like a real problem. But other than that, it was actually a pretty freaking cool game. And like just playing the game that they made was actually like, it was a solid freaking game. So like if you bought Little Big Planet and you paid like $39.99 or whatever for it, if all you played was that one Media Molecule made game and then maybe tried some other little things here or there, you're fine. My question here from a VR standpoint, does Media Molecule have do they have like their own VR built-in game that like has a beginning, middle, and an end or anything like that?
It's more like a showcase. Think about like PSVR Worlds where you have like these smaller games. It's a similar thing like that, but for the PSVR implementation of Dreams. But they have, I think part of the thing is they had this game out in flat for so long, it's a button press to turn a game into VR, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. I kind of liken it to maybe watching a whole bunch of really good movie trailers or a whole bunch of short movies, whereas playing like a AAA title is like watching a really long game or something like that. So this works out great for me. You know, I don't have tons of time to sink 30 hours into a PSVR game, like a fully fledged AAA game, but I do have time to take bite-sized chunk moments of gameplay in Dreams and really enjoy them. And it's really impressive, the stuff that's coming out. I mean, one dude is recreating the entirety of Disney World in Dreams, replete with the waiting lines and all that stuff. So like you're walking through, you see all the, souvenirs or whatever that would be on the walls as you're waiting in line for hours. And then you actually hop on the ride and go on the ride. It's ridiculous. I can't believe this guy's doing this. So just kind of let you know the scope seems to be limitless. It just seems to be like whatever somebody wants to do, it can happen. So, but I guess to answer your question, really, this seems like it was released as more of a platform rather than as a platformer game that you could make new levels for, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, it's like, well, one of the things I've seen with it is I think it's been on sale, like the physical version. Like if you went to Walmart or something, I think you could get it for like $20. And so doesn't it seem like this always happens? The people that pre-order it and buy it right away end up getting kind of boned because like if you just wait a little bit, you find a physical copy somewhere for like dirt cheap. Of course, a lot of people like physical copy. I don't want to have to actually get up and eject a disc or anything like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, anything physical really scares Adam. I'm a digital man. I can handle it. No, so the game was initially released, I think $29.99. You could get in on the beta or something before the PSVR version came out. People were like, I'm going to buy it now while it's cheap. It's going to be expensive when the PSVR version came out. Price went back up to like 40 or $50, something like that. Then the PSVR add-on came out, and they dropped the price down to $30 again, and that's when I scooped it up. So I don't know that people got screwed. Maybe people in the interim that paid whatever the fuller price was, if there was one, they might have got screwed. But if you were waiting for PSVR, there's no penalty for waiting.
Yeah, but if you're like me, like you haven't jumped on Dreams, now that you can get it for maybe $20, probably at that price, it's absolutely worth it because you're like your downside is incredibly limited at that point. $20.
Oh yeah, definitely worth it. I mean, you've heard of PT, right? Somebody made PT in Dreams already. It's there, it's done. You want to play it, go in there and do it, and nobody's taking it down. So that kind of stuff, it's incredible. So to me, if I can find 5 good experiences that give me about 5 hours of gameplay, and I spend $20 on it, yeah, I'm happy. That was worth.
Yeah,
the
I'm
money.
looking at a trailer right now. It looks like you're going up someone's nose and cleaning out their mucus or something.
I thought that was Adam's camera. My bad.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is.
But
Yeah, that looks crazy. Somebody made that. Somebody just made that in Dreams with Move controllers. I don't get how they did it.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing about the Move controller aspect of it. Like a lot of the games use that, and well, I remember Dreams before PlayStation 4 even came out. Do you guys remember way back when they had I don't know if it was like E3 or it was like some special Sony thing, and they had these Media Molecule guys that came on stage, and they were like dancing with puppets and stuff, and people were like, what the F is this? Like, you make little puppets and you dance around with them, and that was like hell of years ago. And it's finally out, and it's got a lot of good stuff. I mean, it's definitely worth checking out. One question is this going to work on PlayStation 5? I mean, I'm assuming it should probably... Like, do you think there will be anything dramatically different about the game on PlayStation 5, or it's just going to run basically the same?
So this kind of gets into my theory about the PlayStation 5 and PSVR implementation. You're already seeing so many games that are expected to have an upgrade in the PlayStation 5 that are coming out on PS4 first. We're looking at Kena is going to have an upgrade. Cyberpunk's going to have an upgrade. Control's going to have an upgrade. Hitman is going to have an upgrade. All these games are having upgrades. So it leads me to believe that developers have something in mind with all these games where it's going to be relatively easy to harness the power of the PlayStation 5. Maybe it's a boost mode, maybe it's something like that, and really get more out of the game that they've already created. I would feel incredibly bad for Media Molecule and the wonderful stuff that they've done with Dreams if suddenly it's going to get left in the dust because the PlayStation 5 just has more processing power. You can see, even in these trailers, you can see there's like some fuzziness. You can see where the game finds its limits of what it can process, and there's some cloudiness. You know, they could double that distance, quadruple it, something like that, really make things sharper. And stop running into the limits of what the PlayStation 4 can do. So it seems like it'd be something pretty easy to do. The game's already there. The engine's already there. Just add some more processing power behind it, and you get even better stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's see here. I have a number of questions that I wanted to ask about kind of like PlayStation 5 and PlayStation VR. I do believe Sony is in kind of this weird little spot right now. And so these are a number of different questions that I wanted to think about with you guys, actually, like PlayStation VR guys, PlayStation 5 guys, Sony guys. You guys are Play PS5, you're Play PSVR. You guys are the ones to talk to. So the first one is exclusive PlayStation 5 VR games. And this question is, will there be games on PlayStation 5 that are VR? And I'm not talking about PlayStation VR 2. Let's just say PlayStation VR 2 is off in the distance. But with our existing PlayStation VR that we got right now, we know that we're going to be able to use it on PlayStation 5. We already know like the accessories are going to work, aim is going to work, the Move controllers are going to work. Even the old DualShock 4 I think will work if you're using PSVR. And so all these old accessories are going to work. PlayStation VR 1, version 1, and version 2 are going to work of the original PlayStation VR. But will there be a game that you've got to buy a PlayStation 5 to be able to play it? Do you think we'll have any of those this year? Do you think we'll have any of those early next year? If we assume that like PlayStation VR 2 is like a couple of years away, maybe. Adam, do you want to? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I think it's just a matter of time. You're right. At some point, there's going to be. But initially, until the PSVR 2 comes out, I think it would behoove them, at least for the first year, to make the games cross-compatible. Now, I hope there is a distinction because the DualSense controller has a lot of things that's going to make virtual reality much more immersive and just enhance the gameplay so much more than the DualShock can. And so if they make it just straight cross-compatible with no differences, they're not going to be utilizing that controller, which I think would be a complete waste of talent and resources and would be extremely disappointing. So
yeah, one thing about that though is that would require, like, I think for the DualSense, I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. I don't know if we're going to be able to use the DualSense controller with the original PlayStation VR. And here's the reason I'll say that. We know that we're going to need an adapter. We got to mail in for it, for the little stickers and stuff. We get the adapter. We know we got to get this adapter so that we can use our existing camera on the PlayStation 5 to use PlayStation VR. Now, is PlayStation 5 going to have enough power to run two different cameras at a time? Because I think you're going to need the PlayStation 5 camera to be able to work with the new DualSense controller, this new controller, right? You're going to need the PlayStation 5 camera, and then you're going to need the PlayStation 4 camera just to work with the headset. So you're talking two cameras going simultaneously, which PlayStation 5 should have the power to be able to do it, but is it going to have enough, like, you know, sometimes like the ports and the bandwidth, like sometimes there's problems with that.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, thankfully that's not our job, that's Sony's, and I hope they find a way to do it. I know specifically the DualSense, I don't know what this entails, of course, because I haven't got to play with it, but they mentioned there are motion sensors specifically for virtual reality. So that could be looking ahead for PSVR 2, but I'm kind of in agreement with you. It's at least a year away, best case scenario. So I feel like it would be weird to mention that if, like, it's really early to mention that knowing that PSVR 2 is a year, 2 years away. Maybe they're doing it. You know, they think years in advance. But I do hope that in some way they can use that DualSense. And I think initially people would be really upset if all of a sudden now all the VR games, or most of them, are PS5 specific and you can't use your PS4 or, you know, any of that. So, yeah. I suppose that would that mean that your old VR games potentially wouldn't work on the new one?
Well,
not necessarily.
Your old games will work, but you just have to connect all your old accessories, and you know, this is a weird situation. This is why this is not an ideal situation. Like, many years ago, they probably knew that this was going to be kind of a weird deal that they're going to have to deal with, but it was off into the future and they weren't worried about it. Now it's here, and now they have this weird transition, and that's why we're asking questions about all these things. And Alex, let me go to the second question on here, which now I did this graphic like a while ago. I don't even know if I ever used it in a show or I was going to use it or what, but back when I did this graphic, this question number 2 is how many PlayStation 5 VR games are going to be out this Christmas? Now, asking the question now seems kind of ridiculous. Like, I don't know if we're going to get any, you know, this year, right? But I thought we were. Like, here's what I thought. Like, one of the questions I have myself is I'm in a weird situation with PlayStation 5. I talked to a lot of people about PlayStation 5, and they're like, yeah, man, I'm buying PlayStation 5. Hell yeah, you're not buying PlayStation 5? You're crazy. Why wouldn't you buy PlayStation 5? But for me, I only play VR. Like, I don't play flat. Like, I've tried to play flat, and I can enjoy it for a little while, and then it's like, this just doesn't do it for me, man. And I just can't play flat. Like, I've been freaking ruined from flat. And so why go spend $600 when you factor in tax and everything, right? Why should I go spend $600 when I only care about VR? So if I only care about VR, why don't I wait for there to be like a compelling reason? And I thought, well, maybe Sony has to know that there's a few people like me, and maybe they would give me something that would really tempt me and make me be like, oh, Sony, why did you do that? Now I've got to buy a PlayStation 5. For example, like if they had Astrobot 2 and it requires PlayStation 5, but you can use the original headset, but it requires PlayStation 5. If they had a Farpoint 2, I would be like, damn, I got to buy a goddamn PlayStation 5. But do you think we'll get any announcements like this in the next, I don't know how many months?
Yeah, so you kind of hit the nail on the head right there with what I was thinking is going to happen. Is we've seen videos of this new Astrobot that's coming out that utilizes the DualSense and shows off the new DualSense technology. If you look at the footage of that game, there's nothing mind-blowing going on there. It doesn't even look graphically powerful. It looks like something that could easily be done on a PlayStation 4. And so that leads me to believe that this game I have no sources for this. I'm purely speculating, but I would not be surprised if we find out that Astro's Playroom, or whatever they're calling it, this new Astrobot game, is going to be PSVR compatible. Because nothing in there seemed like, gee whiz, PlayStation 5 graphics, hooray. And, they like to use Astro to show off all their new technology. So I think we're going to get surprised with that. I don't think Sony's done revealing what PSVR on PlayStation 5 entails. And I do think that there might be a lot of potential for enhancements. Like I said, games that are come out on the PS4 can be played in VR on the PS5 using a PS4 headset, using a PS4 controller with the PS4 camera. You just got some extra beefiness in the processing power, similar to what they did with the standard PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 4 Pro. You can play it looks muddy and like garbage, or you play it on the Pro, you get some sharpness, you get some better draw distance, things like that. Now you play it on the PlayStation 5, and holy crap, it looks like the normal PlayStation 4 game. It's just you're actually there. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. To answer the original question, how many PlayStation 5 VR games are we going to see this Christmas? This is what Adam and I do. We have the over-under on our podcast. Let's do a live one right now, Adam. I'm going to set the line. You tell me over or under. How many games on the PlayStation 5 will you be able to play in VR? I'm going to set the line at 5. Over or under?
This year,
Christmas. Over or under?
Is that exclusive or...
How many games can you play on the PlayStation 5 with a PSVR headset that's a PlayStation 5 game? Say 5.
Okay, I see where you're going.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Don't dilly-dally, boy. We got more questions.
Yeah, we do have more questions. That's a good one. I'm going to say over.
Over. Okay, I should have set the bar higher. I think it's going to be over, too. Christmas is a long way away.
I disagree with you guys. I don't know that we're gonna get a single freaking game. That I don't know that we're like that. You need to have a PlayStation 5. I think they should have one. I just don't know that we're gonna get one this year. And the reason I say that, and Adam, I want to ask you a quick question just about here we are. It's August 15th. Isn't it kind of weird that we're still asking these questions? Dude, November ain't that far away. Everybody's worried about the election is just about to come up and all that stuff. It's not that far away, right? November is not that far. I mean, a couple of months goes by and then bam, you're in November. Is it kind of weird that we're sitting here at August 15th and we still don't know hardly anything about this?
Well, I feel like they have been, obviously, all of their efforts are going towards the PS5. They're going to end up talking about VR at some point, the peripherals and all this stuff. But their main focus is a successful launch because they're competing with Xbox. Alex and I both agree. We think they're going to take a hit on the hardware financially because it's just, to put it at the price where they would make money is too high. So I think they have other concerns now. And then,
okay, wait, Adam, based on what you just said right there, do you think that they just don't think VR is that important? Or the PlayStation VR owners that exist right now, they're just not that important, so they're just not going to dedicate much to that?
I think it's a slippery slope, and I think what I would just guess is that they look at it and they say, PSVR is a small category of PlayStation users. And when you think about the successful launch of something, 85% of the people watching State of Play don't care about PSVR. And so if you have a ton of PSVR stuff, they're going to feel like what we feel. Like, I don't care, it's a flat game. Who gives a crap? Where's the VR? And so then they have to either make the 85% happy. I'm just made that number up, obviously. Or make the 15% that love VR and care about VR happy. So I think it's tough. You're right. It's a very awkward position. It's a tough one for them. And I'm glad I don't have to make the decisions because I don't know if there's a correct one.
Okay. Alex, one of the next question that we had on there was about remastered PlayStation 1 games. And you've already kind of talked about that a little bit because you're saying, yeah, PlayStation 5, it has all this extra juice. They got to take advantage of that in some way. And one of the things that we know about the original PlayStation VR, it has this capability for 120 hertz, a native 120 hertz mode, and I think there's 2 PlayStation VR games that use it. I believe Chorix and Polybius are the 2 games that use it. I've never played Chorix myself. I have played Polybius on PlayStation VR, and I really didn't notice a difference. But on my Valve Index, I've played, there's a game called Space Pirate Trainer, which actually I think it is on PlayStation VR as well.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, Space Pirate Trainer on the Valve Index, if your computer can handle it, you can run it at 144 hertz. And when you run it at 144 hertz, it is butter smooth and it's freaking amazing because like every little thing that is moving is just so freaking smooth. There's no jitteriness, you know? And if that could happen for PlayStation VR, like original PlayStation VR games, if we could get that for free, that would be pretty freaking sweet. Do you think 120 frames for like games like Astrobot and Farpoint, do you think that stuff is going to be possible? Do you think it's going to be for like most of the games, or do you think there's only going to be a few that actually do that? What do you think about that?
It's something that sounds like it should be easy for them to do, and it sounds like a gimme. And of course, because it sounds easy and sounds obvious and it's a gimme, they're probably not going to do it, which is unfortunate. The thing is, PSVR, to me, you know, I'm not a PC VR player. I don't know the ins and outs of the technicals of all the other headsets that are out there. But from what I gather, at least, you know, graphics-wise, PSVR is limited by the hardware of the system, not the hardware of the headset. Yeah, it doesn't have inside-out tracking and all that stuff. Yeah, we understand the camera's not the best way to track. But usually the biggest downside of playing a game on PSVR is that it just can't keep up with the graphical fidelity of like a good PC. You see it in games like Resident Evil 7 where you get that grainy stuff in the periphery of your vision, things like that. You see it in games like Gorn or whatever that comes out on the PSVR, and it just has some of the limitations applied to it. It's almost like the handheld tax that you would see happen on handheld games. So it seems so obvious, and I want it to happen so badly that we can see these games that were held back by this hardware because they had to play on an original PlayStation 4. They had to play on the OG, not the 4K one, and that hampered them. If they could unleash the beast and let us see these games at full power with this beautiful headset. I still love the way games look in the PSVR headset. You know, you don't have the God rays and stuff like that. You got decent resolution, and you got a really good refresh rate. I see no reason why they shouldn't just figure out some nice way for them to turn the crank, flip the switch, and give us that full refresh rate. On one hand, I expect that we're going to see a lot of it. On the other hand, I think Sony's just not going to do it. They got something else on the cooker. It's one or the other. I really wish I knew one way or the other.
Adam, here's a question. So, I mean, obviously we're speculating at this point. We don't know what's going to happen here, but you know, we're trying to predict because Sony hasn't told us anything, so all we can do is kind of speculate on this stuff. But what about this? Like, you know, you talk about the power of PlayStation 5. The video card that is in the PlayStation 5 compared to the video card that's in PlayStation 4 is dramatically major improvements. So you're talking about a lot of things are possible now with PlayStation 5, and even with the existing PlayStation VR games that we already have, a lot of amazing things could be done. But a lot of times for this to really work out, you almost need the developer to like get back into the studio and like start working, these different games like Farpoint and Astrobot and Everybody's Golf and all these games. Do these games just get like some little automatic boost from the PlayStation 5, kind of like PlayStation 4 Pro? Or do developers have to go in there and enable these like higher end textures? And then a bonus question, was Sony thinking about this 2 years ago? So like when they made Blood and Truth, maybe London Studio, when they developed Blood and Truth, they already knew that the PlayStation 5 was coming and that they could run Blood and Truth at 120 frames and they could have way higher textures, and they like developed that version in tandem with the regular version. And then so this December, boom, we're going to have a freaking Blood and Truth that's going to freaking blow our minds practically.
Yeah, I feel like I laugh because the second question there, I hope I'm wrong, but I do not see that happening. I do not see them looking that far into the future, and I just don't see it. Again, I hope I'm wrong. That would be awesome, because some of the games, I mean, you improve the graphics enough, make it smooth enough, it's almost like a whole new game worth playing again, even though you know the intricacies of it. So hopefully I'm wrong. As far as the other games, I'm sure there's going to just be some inherent graphical improvement and possibly performance improvement. I think to make it significantly better enough to really look and be like, oh wow, okay, this is next gen, I would think the developers would have to do something. Now the good news is PSVR has a lot of random games. One that comes to mind is like a Pirate Flight. That dude still is having updates on this game that everyone originally played, and they're like, this game's garbage. And he just keeps putting stuff out. Conrad the Kitten is another one.
Yeah, man. I want Conrad the Kitten in PS5.
Yeah, baby. That's going to be first PlayStation 5 VR game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the good thing is, I think, of the VR community, these people, a lot of them are very small, and so they love their games. It's not just a moneymaker for them. And so they probably will. Discovery, Conrad the Kitten, Pirate Flight, all these type games, developers probably would go back and make some enhancements. But the technical aspect of it, I mean, I think there's probably going to be some inherent improvements, but I don't know how much the devs are going to have to do to really beef it up and impress us with the PS5.
Yeah, Alex, here's a question. So, like, it's kind of exciting when you get this idea that, my whole library is going to get this like fresh coat of paint, and it's almost like it's like a new lease on life, right? And it's like, yeah, I want to go back and see what this game looks like, and I want to go back and see what that game looks like. It's kind of like if you never had a PlayStation 4 Pro and then you get a PlayStation 4 Pro, you might want to go back and check some of these PSVR games to see how much of a difference there is. You personally, if you get a PlayStation 5, are you going to go back and try to look at Blood and Truth again, or Everybody's Golf, or Trover Saves the Universe, or whatever it happens to be?
Yeah, because here's what happens. Sony releases these new consoles, and you got like 10 launch titles, and then maybe 3 of them are worth playing, so you're going to need a back catalog to go back to. And just thinking about upgraded or boosted PSVR games, to me, if Sony wants to sell a bajillion PSVR headsets, those things are getting cheaper and cheaper for them to make, I'd imagine. They're selling them at lower and lower prices, it seems. You want to sell 1 million of them? Make all these PSVR games boosted on the PlayStation 5. Somebody's going to buy a PlayStation 5. They want to maximize it. They don't have the launch titles to keep them enchanted, so they're going to buy a PSVR headset just to take the gaming to the next level and play all these games. So of course, Skyrim, No Man's Sky, a lot of these games that feel limited. You said Farpoint, stuff like that, Resident Evil 7, hopefully. These are all games that could benefit from a little bit of a boost, a little bit of a push in the graphics department. And of course, I'm going to be there. I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready for the PSVR. I'm ready for the PS5, and I'd love to see a nice little marriage of these two consoles, the loves of my life. Don't tell my wife I said that.
You know what I'm wondering here is like, if Sony was really smart about it and they would throw a little money around, is like for them to look at the PSVR catalog and think, what were some really good games that, they're watered down, like they really got watered down, but now that we got PlayStation 5, man, if these games got a fresh new pass, if we could get these developers back into the studio for like 2 months creating kind of like a special remastered version, and we're going to set aside like $20 million, and we're going to give this developer $100,000 and this developer $50,000, like Vitruvius VR. They have that game Shadow Legend, pretty freaking awesome on PlayStation VR. I played it on PlayStation VR. I've played it on PC VR. It's even better there, but it's pretty damn good on PlayStation VR. But if Sony were to say, hey, Vitruvius VR, here's $50,000, but here's what you got to do. You got to go back into Shadow Legend. You got to pump the textures and like really freaking make this puppy sing so that the PS5, when it is working with the PS5, it'll be considerably enhanced. And maybe do that with about 20 different games, like key games like Red Matter and just like stuff that is really good but could be taken to that next level. Maybe even, like Paper Beast, like some games that we've gotten recently, if they were that much more graphically enhanced, would really give a bonus. But they're probably not going to do this, right? Adam, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, that would be absolutely incredible. And I think there are some games that, for example, like I know Mage's Tale was a pretty good game, but on the PSVR, from what I remember, it did not look very good. It was fuzzy, and for me, it really, I'm not a graphics snob, but if it's too bad, it's a turnoff. Like I just lose enthusiasm for it. Another game like Wolfenstein Cyberpilot, actually a great game, has one bad tracking mechanic that is horrendous, but then it's a little short. If they remaster it, fix that tracking, make it a little longer, that was actually a real fun game, and that's even like a big title. So it's something they definitely could do if they would want, and I'm sure they're going to tack on some more money for a DLC or something, get some of that back. But will they do it? Nah, probably not, unfortunately.
You know what I just thought of? I was listening to your guys' podcast today, and like whenever you mention Arizona Sunshine, it's always like, oh, freaking Arizona Sunshine. And I think that's the poster child, right, for a game, because so many PC VR games have come to PlayStation VR and actually been freaking amazing. Like, there's been a lot of good stuff that has made a great translation. Arizona Sunshine, not so much. You know what I mean? Like, that one didn't come across very good. But, like, if they gave $100,000 to Vertigo Games and said, bro, if you guys just bang away for 2 months, here's a free $100,000, plus you'll sell even more copies of Arizona Sunshine, and you can actually have a freaking good version of Arizona Sunshine now and represent your franchise better, because they got After the Fall that's going to be coming out later this year as well. Alex, what do you think about that thought process? I mean, we're kind of like living a dream here, thinking about what, but shouldn't a company like Sony think ahead like this and do these kinds of things?
I mean, that's what they've been doing to the PSVR all along. It's so weird. They're willing to throw money at Capcom to make Resident Evil 7 a PSVR exclusive. But they're not willing to throw money at their own in-house developers to make some just solid exclusives to bolster the PSVR through the end of the generation, like you mentioned. But I think Sony has been doing that in secret, not in secret, but, there's probably some NDAs out there with developers saying, hey, make this, don't release it on anything else for a little while, put it on the PSVR. I bet No Man's Sky probably got handed a hefty sack of money to add VR to that. Especially since the game had already been out for so long. it seems definitely like what's up Sony's sleeve. They're going to be throwing money at developers. Now, to get developers who have maybe left a game behind and go back and work on it when maybe instead they'd like to work on something PlayStation 5 exclusive and really scoop up that market, I don't know how that's going to play. The Arizona Sunshine games, it seems to me like they're done on the PlayStation 5 or the PlayStation 4. I think the last release was called like the ultimate finishing version or whatever it's called. I don't know. Like, we're done with this. Buy it and that's it. So I don't know if it necessarily work on them, but I would certainly love them to come back and add some more stuff to it.
Yeah, it seems like if they concentrated on like 10 key games and said, you know what, let's really invest in these 10 original PlayStation VR games and really pump these puppies up. One thing I think they might do, Beat Saber, 120 hertz. You know, because Beat Saber at 120 hertz, like the hardcore players will notice that difference. And so that would be kind of cool if they did that. And plus it's a great advertising thing to say, now play Beat Saber at 120 hertz. Okay, let's move to the next question. Next question is about PlayStation VR 2. Now, I personally believe that the PlayStation VR 2 is farther away than a lot of us would like to think it is. I think it's farther away. But having said that, like if you look at Oculus, even though their like next generation Oculus headset is like really far away, like at different Oculus shows, they've had little like renders and stuff of what the far distant future of VR could be, and how, you know, how much better like field of view could be 140 degrees and varifocal lenses and stuff. Like Oculus has shown stuff like this to kind of tease this incredible future of this really high-end headset. Sony, I don't think they're going to like give us anything really solid about PlayStation VR 2 this year, but could they maybe tease something? Adam, do you want to take that one? What do you think? Do you think Sony could possibly give us just a little something where it's like they don't even really say that this is PlayStation VR 2, but they just say, here at Sony, we're even working on next gen VR, and they show like them like crafting different headsets and showing different controller prototypes and stuff, just to let us know that they're still in the game.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna at some point tease something. Unfortunately, I think you're right. I think PSVR 2 is a ways away. It's obvious they're focusing their efforts on something else. We always get excited when we see the patents. You know, I feel like fairly often they're patenting something that is used for virtual reality that we're all like, oh my gosh. Sometimes I wonder if they just do that for like to get people riled up, because a lot of the patents obviously they don't use. But I would hope that they would start discussing some aspects, even if it's the little minuscule ones, because I think they've got some backlash, even with the state of plays and then the PS5 announcements and people saying, hey, what's happening to PSVR? Is it compatible? Can you play the old games? Like the very basic questions they didn't answer, and they got some kickback from it, and people were like, what's going on? Give us something. And so hopefully that opened their eyes, and that they can't just stay silent. They've got to give us something and give us some idea. And I think for us PSVR fans, the possible good thing is that the other brands of virtual reality headsets are doing wonderful. They're coming out with new updates, and the hardware is great. Graphically and in a lot of ways, tracking is much better than the PSVR. So if PlayStation wants to stay in that game and be competitive, they've got to up their game, and they've got to get closer to those technical specs and that type of hardware, which again I think is good for PSVR players, because when PSVR 2 does come out, it's going to be a lot better than our original headset.
Absolutely. And Alex, why don't we go to the next question at this point? And the next question I got is, what about mobile VR? And this is an interesting problem that Sony has, because here's the thing. You got a company like Facebook that is not playing around. And that's the thing. That's like Sony is like look, if you're really going to be in this VR game, Sony, you need to step it up more, because Facebook is not taking their foot off that gas pedal. They are pushing it down. They're accelerating. They got this new Quest that, you know, is kind of leaked out, and supposedly on September 15th we're going to get some information on that. And I mean, some people might even say, like, should there even be a PSVR 2, or should it be something completely different? Should this be a Quest killer instead of being locked into PlayStation 5? Should this thing, or maybe should this thing be a hybrid where it can work with PlayStation 5, and also you can take it to the cabin and where you might not have electricity or whatever, and it's got a Snapdragon in it as well? And it's like, I mean, that's pretty freaking crazy for them to do all that. But don't you think Sony is kind of in a weird spot? Because if they don't address the problem that is the Oculus Quest, freaking Facebook is going to run away with this thing, man. Because like, I can go to Target, or well, not Target, but I can go to Walmart, and I can go to like Costco, and there's a Quest box, and you buy it, and it's got everything you need, man. That's a real nice solution.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about the way the ecosystem has evolved. Oculus came out, they had their DK1 or whatever it was called, the very first Oculus. Then a couple years down the road, the PlayStation VR comes out, and it's already, you know, at a deficit. It already has weaker hardware supporting it. It has worse tracking, but somehow it was relatively quite successful in the VR ecosystem for a while. It was one of the worst pieces of equipment in terms of technical aspects, but it's still a game that came out on all of them, sold like gangbusters. And so you had success with an inferior product. I imagine Sony's going to do a similar thing. Oculus Quest comes out. They tackle all these issues. They get people used to the idea of wireless VR, even though you take into account, you know, the deficit in visuals. And then Sony comes out with their mobile VR, and they're going to eat their lunch. That's what I'm hoping happens. I mean, let's not forget, they make cell phones, they make laptops, they're a hardware company just as much as they're a video game console manufacturer. So it's not like they don't have the clout and the engineering capability and the R&D behind them to really make like a boss processing unit that can go into a VR headset. Whereas Oculus, you know, what do they have in support of them? Yeah, it's a great kit, but they don't have somebody, you know, that they can work with that's already making cell phones and stuff like that too. Maybe they do. I don't know. I don't know how big Facebook is. But I wouldn't be surprised if Sony comes out with some kind of hybrid solution like you're thinking. It would be really smart of them to release the next PlayStation VR iteration, PSVR 2, with the capability of, you know, last generation graphics, without being tethered to anything, all processed by the headset itself. And then you can do like the Oculus Link with the Quest or something, or hey, maybe even 5G. Your console emits a 5G signal straight to your PSVR headset. You got some streaming, you got some wireless, you got some fun. I think that's where we're going to be going. Streaming just gets faster and faster and better, and I don't know why Sony wouldn't try to hop onto that.
Adam, my question, so again, about this Quest thing, like I agree with everything Alex just said there. The only thing is, I think, Alex, like, I think you're making it sound a lot easier than it really would be, because here's the thing. If you have a headset that has like a Snapdragon of some type in it, where's all the software going to come? Now, it would be awesome if they could get the right kind of chip from somebody that could almost make it possible where PSVR 1 games could be somehow ported, and it wouldn't be like making an entirely new game. But if like original PSVR, like imagine if you had a standalone and you could play Astrobot, and it's the same exact Astrobot, and you could play Farpoint, and it's the same exact Farpoint. Because anytime you look at standalone headsets, you're looking at watered down graphics. They got to water it down, and for the original PlayStation VR, the game has to run on the original PlayStation 4 without a Pro. I don't know if that's possible, but Adam, I'm going to ask you, is it this easy? Like to have two completely different libraries, and then like if you were to have two headsets, you have a standalone that's going against the Quest, you got this other more powerful headset that's locked into PlayStation 5 as an accessory. Isn't this just a crazy confusing... Like, it's kind of man.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I'm assuming it's even more confusing for the people having to make the decisions. And where do your priorities lie? I mean, maybe, I would doubt it, but maybe Sony is like, there's millions and millions and millions of people with PlayStations. Let's tackle them, and that will be our market. And if a lot of them have PlayStation VRs to go with their PlayStation, we've made a bunch of money, and then maybe we can make a separate with that, like Sony itself can make their own headset that's not game related or something. Yeah, it's confusing. It depends on where their priorities lie. I think both of you were correct in the fact that in the ideal world, a headset like you two were talking about would be incredible. And I personally don't know how much power and how feasible that truly would be. I would imagine it would be quite an undertaking, but if they did it, that would be they're top of the line, top of the pack now, but I don't know if that's possible. Maybe in 2 years we'll be surprised. Maybe by then the technology will exist and it won't be that crazy. And I hope that would be awesome. I would also like a cabin. Can I come to your cabin?
Yeah. Well, Quest is fun, man. I mean, do you guys ever like screw around with, actually, here's a completely off the wall type question. Like I was just mentioning, I don't really want to go pay $600 for a PlayStation 5 because I'm a VR guy, and I just don't think PlayStation 5 is going to have anything, like, even if they have these upscaled games and stuff, I'm sure it's cool if you had one, but do I really want to like go to my ATM, withdraw 600 buccarinos, stand in line somewhere if I could even get a PlayStation 5 this year? That's the other question. How many hundreds of thousands of those are going to even be available? I guess millions, right? But like, it might not be necessary. Like, do you guys have one pre-ordered? Can you pre-order it already? I don't even know what the deal is with that.
Yeah, no, not yet. No pre-orders. They should, according to rumors, they're supposed to be opening pre-orders somewhat soon. I think the first thing they got to do is mention the release date before they start doing pre-orders, I would assume. And even in our last podcast, Alex had some stats. He looked back on the PS3 and the PS4 release launches and when they told those. What did we say, Alex? It was like middle of August or something. They typically talked about release dates.
Oh, yeah, I just looked it up. I think it's like September, mid-September is when they talk about the release date. So we should know in mid-September, and I bet pre-orders are going to go live sometime in mid-September too. That's when they announced PlayStation 4. That's when they announced PlayStation 3, I believe, the release dates, and the release dates always end up being in November. I don't have one pre-ordered. My strategy is going to be to try to find some rural GameStop that nobody goes to and just kind of knock on the door and say, hey, I got money that nobody else in the 500 miles has. Let me buy this console for you because I know you got to sell one.
Yeah, you don't got those eBay scalpers that freaking take everything everywhere at all times.
Where I live, nobody knows what eBay is, man.
Oh man, I got Craigslist, eBayers, all kinds of, and then they do like the Facebook Marketplace crap and offer up and all that. Dude, there are people that literally make their entire living off going after hard to find items, like the Oculus Quest, for example. But that's my question is like, you're putting $600 at PlayStation 5. What if I said, dude, buy yourself an Oculus Quest? Why not enjoy pure? Because the one beautiful thing, so here, I'll explain it this way. I love PlayStation VR. It's a great system. It's got amazing games like Farpoint and Astrobot. It's got a lot of good stuff. You can have actual hand presence with the motion controllers. It's got the aim. It's pretty sweet, right? But then if I think about the Oculus Quest, like the Oculus Quest creates a freaking holodeck rectangle in your room. Like you draw it out and it has a height, and it's like a cube that you're inside of, and you can just walk around inside this cube. And if you've got a pretty big freaking area, you can actually make a pretty big area to walk around. And it's so liberating coming from like a PlayStation VR where you got that cone of vision and you got to kind of stay in this little area. And if you wander away too far, it starts to break. Has there ever been any temptation of like, F it, man, just go with the Quest, sell your soul to the devil?
I had some temptation, especially when we were on our little hiatus. I was like, man, I should just get a Quest and see what that's all about. I'm getting a spare tire around my gut. Some of these exercise games would be a lot better when I'm not accidentally punching a cord like I do with Box VR. It'd be so much better at the Quest to not be having to dodge a cord. I got a pet rabbit. He chewed through my PSVR headset cord. These things are problems, and I want these problems solved, and the Quest solves the problems. But I am not here for old news. I am not here for yesterday's tech, man. I'm all about the new hotness, and the new hotness is a PlayStation 5 and what it's going to do to my old hotness, the PlayStation VR. Like I said, man, I want that marriage. I want that unity. It's going to be beautiful. And so, yeah, I'm tempted, but I know the second I drop all that money on the Oculus Quest, Oculus Quest 2 is going to come out, and I'm just going to be left with my pants down wondering how to get on to a Little Star with the Oculus Quest.
Well, on September 15th, I mean, we might get this. I mean, it's not like Oculus Quest 2, but there is, like, I don't know if you guys have seen the rumors, but, like, this stuff leaked. I mean, you might not be paying attention to it, but, like, there's another freaking Quest. It's going to be shown on September 15th. If that thing looks really, like, if it's smaller, lighter weight, more comfortable, and let's say it's $299, does that tempt you? Or is this really a situation, though? Because the thing is, like, we all have our teams, right? Like I'm a fan of the Seahawks or, like, whatever sports team, and so, like, you're a part of the team. And so you guys are PlayStation, PlayStation through and through. Your blood bleeds blue. And it's like maybe you could be better off building yourself a gaming PC and getting like an Oculus Rift S or something and trying to play like Half-Life Alyx and stuff like that, but you're a PlayStation gamer. So is that like how do you navigate that?
So I did just build a gaming PC, and it was entirely motivated because I want to play Half-Life Alyx. I don't have the headset yet that I'm going to do it with. I'm wondering if I should just wait for the Valve Index to become more available, maybe a bit cheaper, wait for the next gen to come out and scoop it on that. So I'm building up the hardware to play some PC VR games. But like I've mentioned before, my time is at a premium, and I really, confining myself to one ecosystem, what it does is it forces me to play games outside of my comfort zone and spend time with games that I normally wouldn't spend time with. It's really just a stupid way to say I'm all right with not having that many video games on my console. But I'm all right with not having that many video games on my console so I can explore games like Fisherman's Tale, which normally I'd take one pass at, but instead I took a couple passes at it because I had the time, and I found myself really enjoying it. Zing, The Land Beyond, a game that didn't seem like is gonna be anything for me, was a really wonderful experience, and I felt really fortunate to have taken the plunge on that.
Hey, one thing I wanted to say about Zing, because Adam, I was listening to you talk about Tetris Effect and this idea that, you can think these deep thoughts, when you're playing Tetris Effect and you like zone out and like you can solve the problems that are, the dark clouds that are hovering over you that are bothering you. Another game that does that for me is actually Zing. It's so chill, like just the beach and the music that's playing. Like I find this happens a lot in VR where like I will think the deepest thoughts I've ever thought. Like almost like I'm on mushrooms or some shit when I'm in VR. It's like you'll think some seriously deep thoughts. I don't know why that is.
Have you played Vertigo Home?
No, but I've heard you guys talk about it forever, and I've heard Alex talk about it forever, and I've seen.
If you want to be on shrooms, there you go. If you
do
want
we still have
like
codes? Let's throw a code at this guy so he has to play Vertigo Home.
Oh, God,
we might.
No, Polybius is kind of on shrooms as well. Polybius. Yeah. Okay, let's see. What else did I want to get in here? Actually, you know what? Why don't we go to something completely different for a minute? So going back to State of Play. I thought it was a huge freaking disappointment, but there was one freaking major banger that was shown there.
Yeah.
And I have this website. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called vrgamerankings.com. And it's like a little labor of love. It's kind of like a little fan website that I've made. But I have rankings on there of like the top 200 PlayStation VR games, the top 40 most wanted PlayStation VR games, and then like a last 90 days ranking where I rank the most recent PlayStation VR games. And right now, the number one most wanted PlayStation VR game ahead of Star Wars Squadrons is this game right here, Hitman 3 VR, which was announced at State of Play. And this is crazy, guys, but I've never played a Hitman game. I've always heard about them, and I've always thought they'd be kind of cool, but I just never played it for whatever reason. But after seeing this trailer, like watching this whole thing, and knowing how VR works, and knowing that when you're in VR and you've got other physical people in VR, it seems like their bodies are like taking up actual physical space. Like if you're walking through there, it feels like you've got to turn your body. You got to, you can't just walk right into somebody. You feel like they're occupying space. I know how powerful this can be. And for Hitman, the scenarios that they would place you in is freaking perfect for VR because they have all these individual little scenarios that they're going to pop you into, and you might have to dress up as like a cook or something, and then you have to complete an assassination. I mean, that is freaking brilliant. I mean, it's perfect for VR, right? So this is an incredible new announcement. Alex, what did you think about this when you first heard about it? Did it kind of come completely out of left field? Have you ever played any of these Hitman games, and how hyped are you for this puppy?
I answer the questions in reverse. I'm very hyped. I'm a fan of the Hitman games. The games present themselves almost like a puzzle. You can play them as a balls to the wall shooter. I think the game's kind of easy if you do that, unless they've changed something in the most recent iterations. But really, the game is about being creative. They released Hitman 1 as it's kind of a reboot of the franchise with this most recent Hitman 1. They released the game as episodic content. The idea was you get one level and you play that for a couple of weeks. They'll release the next level later so that you go through the level multiple times to see all the different ways you can assassinate this guy, whether you're going to become a chef and poison his food, whether you're going to trigger some trap, make a chandelier fall on his head, something like that, cut the brakes to his car and then try to get him in a race or something. So there's all sorts of fun, creative things you can do, and the fact that you're going to be doing it in first person for the first time, as far as I can tell, actually looking around, seeing who's watching you, noticing you, I'm really excited about it. It came completely out of left field for me. I had no thought in my mind that they would make a Hitman game for VR, much less PSVR. It's got me pumped. I will say there was an AMA on Reddit with the developers either today or yesterday. There's some little nuggets. One of the questions somebody asked, will it be released on both PS4 and PS5? If so, what's the difference? And the developers were quite mum with their response, and they said, we have a line. We'll tell you more later about how PSVR players are going to be able to play the game. That makes me think that there's probably going to be some heavy PS5 involvement. But you also hear them talking about what they're doing with the DualShock 4 controller to make it work. So, okay, it's going to use DualShock 4. Obviously, PS4 players are going to be able to play the game, but it does seem like there's going to be something important happening if you play in PlayStation 5. So, yeah, this is such a wonderful little nugget. As we're dying for information from Sony about PlayStation 5 anything, PSVR anything, they dropped this right in our laps, and it just gave me hope for the future, man.
And this is another one of these games, like PC VR gamers. Like most of my people out there are PlayStation, they're PC VR gamers. Like they're hardcore enthusiasts, right? And this one is like a stab to the gut, man, because it's exclusive. It's a timed exclusive. It is going to be coming to these other platforms, but it might be like a 6-month thing. I mean, it could be a 1-year thing. We just never know with this stuff. And so if you really want to experience Hitman, you've got to have a freaking PlayStation VR. And it's kind of a weird situation too, because like we're now going to be like, it's going to come out after PlayStation 5. It's coming out in January, and January is just around the corner. So that's good news as well. Hopefully this thing won't get delayed because this is a big one. But Adam, I'm going to go to you next. And here's the angle I want to talk about Hitman with you, Adam. Is like, okay, so we got this announcement that we're only going to be able to use a DualShock 4 as the controller. And this had to be somewhat of a wet blanket, on this game, because I don't know, when I first saw the trailer and you see like this part right here, this part of the trailer where the guy, he's going into this room. It's like a bathroom, and he's got the freaking wire, and he's going to go choke this guy out. Like, I thought I was going to be using moves, and I thought I was going to be like, and like just, really getting in there, right? But I was thinking, do you guys think that maybe the reason that we're not going to use these things here is because one of the issues that you might have to consider with a game like Hitman 3 VR is, what about violence and VR? Do you guys remember in the days, there used to be this lawyer, I think he was from Florida, like Jack Thompson or whatever. Do you guys remember that guy? He would say Grand Theft Auto is a murder simulator, and he'd be like, you're just teaching all these kids how to murder people. Okay, well, Grand Theft Auto might not have been a murder simulator, but if there is a murder simulator, I mean, what is Hitman? You're basically taking people out, and in VR, if you're literally going to sneak up on somebody, because one of the things I mentioned is like, there is this thing when you're in VR and there's other physical human bodies and they're life size, they're as tall as you, they're occupying that space. You might have felt this in Blood and Truth. You might have felt it in London Heist. There is that feeling, and for you to sneak up behind a realistic looking human, these aren't robots, these aren't freaking goblins, these are realistic looking humans, and actually strangling them with move controllers. Do you think there's any way that they might have like deliberately gone with this to avoid being on Fox News and all that type of shit? What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I think that's definitely an interesting take, something that I actually didn't think about. To be honest, what I was hoping, and what I hope more than anything in my life, is that, and I'll see, hopefully I didn't not read the article close enough, but what I'm hoping is that when you're playing it on PS5, you can use the DualSense, and then they have the adaptive triggers that are going to tighten up at certain junctures of the game. So to go up to someone, and as you're strangling them, those triggers get tighter, and you have to pull harder, and the haptic feedback on that starts rumbling, and it would be immersive, and it would be incredible. So that's what gets my jollies all up in a boil. I want that big time. So I didn't even think about the motion controllers, and certainly not about the fact that it's too violent. I mean, I suppose they definitely have a case. I think, first of all, most VR players, I don't think, are that young. They even advise, you can't be 12 or under. They advise that you shouldn't play. And then, I don't know. I feel like there's so many other games where you're shooting people and they're still lifelike. I know there's a difference between strangling someone and shooting them with a gun, but I don't know. But you're right. It probably would make the news because, what else do people have to talk about? Everyone's sick of talking about coronavirus. So it would probably make the news.
Let me throw an example out there. Remember that game Manhunt 2 is supposed to be the most violent game ever made? They made a Wii version of it. They were making a Wii version. You were going to strangle people with the motion controls. They had to dial it back because it was just too much. It was too gratuitous. It got slammed with an adults-only rating by the ESRB, and they had to dial it back. Do you think the ESRB is going to see this and not give it an adults-only rating? If you do that, that's a death kiss to the sales of the game. So I think you're right, Tony. I think they're dialing it back. They're making it DualShock only because they really don't want to get in trouble for that. Which sucks. I mean, make it as realistic as possible. But you also are right. The VR games, they give me a weird feeling. You're looking people in the eyes, and you get this weird connection as if you would with another person. So maybe I'll be glad that there's the dissonance of the controller.
Well, I have a question.
Okay.
To that, because like back in the day, maybe this is oversimplifying stuff, when you weren't supposed to get something as like a kid, like they were like, oh, you shouldn't have Garbage Pail Kid cards, or you shouldn't have the little like fireworks, anything you're not supposed to have, that ramps it up and hypes it up, and people want it even more. If it were adult only, I would be on that so hard. I would pay an extra $20 for an adult only game, even though it may not be any different. Just in my mind, I want to play virtual reality. I want to play like a man's game. And if that's what this makes me think it is, I'm willing to pay more for it. I would want it so much more if it said adult only.
The issue is that like Walmart and Target and GameStop have all vowed to not sell adults only games. Now we're moving in the age of digital. It doesn't matter as much, but
I don't care. Yeah.
I doubt you're going to see Sony allow an adults only game to be put on their console. Yeah, it's been a while since Jack Thompson's done his thing, but we're still cognizant of it. And we really hate for one of the first PSVR games to come out for the PlayStation 5 to get this controversy surrounding it.
Yeah, I don't think a developer like IO Interactive that is spending as much money as no major developer is going to make an adults-only game. I mean, eventually one day that will happen. There will be a future where that happens eventually, but goddamn, that might be like 10, 15 years away. It could be a while for that. But going back to the violence aspect of this, VR, like, people laugh about this. Like, oh my God, it's just a video game, man. But you know what? This is going to be a legitimate problem in VR. Not now. Maybe not now. Our graphics aren't that good right now. Like, you're not going to be in this game and think that lady is real and everything is real. It's the visuals just aren't there. Like, your body isn't really in the game yet. Your inverse kinematics isn't there yet. So we've got a long way to go in all different kinds of categories. But the fact is, it's inevitable, man. We're going to continue to go for photorealism. We're going to get bigger FOVs. We're going to have better motion controls. And we're going to get to a point where violence in VR, if it's realistic against humans, now it'd be different if these were all robots walking around. Then you could say, oh, they're robots or zombies. We've seen Saints and Sinners. You know, I didn't play Saints and Sinners on PlayStation VR, but I played Saints and Sinners on like the Rift and the Valve Index and stuff like that. And like you grab, I mean, it's so amazing when you grab the head of a zombie and you've got a knife right here and you just like right in the side of the zombie's head, and it's almost like you actually like you feel it, and it like is therapeutic. You know, it feels good after a hard day to go and do that to some zombies. But these are zombies. If these were like, imagine we start getting into games where it's like you go up behind somebody. You know that move in the spy move where it's always like you twist somebody's neck, or you take a blade and you slice it right underneath their neck. I mean, I don't know, like, where are we eventually going to go with this? But I don't know who wants to handle this, but do you think this is going to be like a legit freaking problem in maybe 10 years? You know, maybe it's not a problem right now, but 10 years from now, like, is a game like this with full-on motion controls where you're really stabbing people and stuff, and it's so ultra-realistic? Because for the vast majority of us, we'll still be fine. But there's some people that are walking around out there, man, that they have a few screws loose. And you give them a game where they're freaking slicing people's throats and stuff, and it's unbelievably realistic. Don't you think this is going to be some kind of problem at some point? Adam, going back to you.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something to keep track of and to look at, because I think it definitely could be. I mean, even games like I recently played The Last of Us Part 2, there were a couple scenes in there that, because the graphics are so good, it actually creates a visceral response. Like Joel and Ellie and all the characters look real. Like you're actually watching something live go on. Now, again, I know thankfully a 2D game, it's harder to get that psychological pull that a virtual reality game would have. But that's why I think we may have an issue, because if just watching something like Ellie cut again zombie's throat or whatever, if I kind of feel that or have some emotions boiling up, and then the graphics are good enough in virtual reality and I do it, you're right, that's gonna start messing with people's mind and creating visceral responses, which on one hand is what we want. It's what I love about the game To the Top, is because I'm afraid of heights, and when I jump off a building, my body's like, idiot, I'm done, you're dead. And it's like, it's awesome, it's what we want. But then, yeah, you have to be very careful, because the psyche of the mind is not something to play around with. So, yeah, I think it will be a discussion we're going to have at some point, like you said.
I think it's worth mentioning there's a potential therapeutic happening, right? I mean, we got these people that have issues, like people are afraid of heights, and you have exposure therapy where you gradually ramp up the heights that you're going to have. Now, imagine we have people with these violent tendencies, or they have this screw loose or something, and they have this violent fantasy they want to purge, and they have a method of purging it in VR, and it might not be the real thing. They might not get what they're looking for out of it, but it might be something that delays it. I don't know. Like, exposure therapy is a real thing. You know, I remember listening to a podcast a long time ago where this guy just could not get this violent imagery out of his head, and his therapist was like, hey, just indulge it. The guy was scared he was going to stab his wife, and he knew he wasn't going to do it, but he was scared he was going to because he couldn't stop picturing it. And the therapist was like, hey, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go home, tell your wife you're going to do this. I told you to do this. Grab the knife, hold it up next to her, and just show yourself that you're not going to do this. He put himself in the situation. VR will put somebody in the situation so they could see, you know, oh, this isn't really something I want to do. Now I'm here. I'm seeing what's happening. I don't really like this. This doesn't give me the kicks I thought it would. So there's a potential there for the therapeutic response there. I don't necessarily want to advocate for that. I don't want to say that it's good that people have these tendencies, but there's a possibility that this purging of these desires could help out. It's almost pornographic in nature, but it keeps people at bay.
We'll send them to your house, and we'll let them murder people in VR, and then take the headset off in your house.
And I'm sitting there shirtless, staring at them. Yeah. Freak them out. They never come back.
Sure,
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be a strange new world. I mean, yeah, I do believe we got probably a good 10 years before, like, this is really going to be a hardcore problem. But, man, at some point, it's going to be weird because, like developers are going to be play testing the game, and they might find out, dude, my play tester has PTSD and shit or something. You know, it's like the horror games. Like, think of the horror games and stuff like that. It's going to be a very interesting thing. But you know what? We've been going pretty long, and I know you guys, it's late. You guys got to get going. But I just wanted to hit up just a couple of quick upcoming games for PlayStation VR that I think look pretty sweet. I don't know if you guys have seen this trailer that came out in just the last couple of days, but okay, so we have The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, right? Everybody knew about that game. It was the big game. It's kind of like maybe one of the 5 best VR games this year, maybe one of the 3 best VR games this year. It's an incredible game. But there was another Walking Dead game. It's called The Walking Dead Onslaught. It's being developed by Survios. These are the guys that did Raw Data. They did Sprint Vector, Creed, Rise to Glory. On PC, they did a game called Westworld Awakening that is freaking badass once you get past the first chapter. It's an incredible experience. And this is the newest trailers for The Walking Dead Onslaught. People were worried about this game a while back, but they've cut out like co-op and all this other stuff, and it's just going to be straight up single player, but they feel like they've dialed in the single player. It looks visceral. It's going to be based on the actual TV show, so we're going to have the voices of some real people. Alex, going over to you, were you tracking this game? Were you aware of this other Walking Dead game? Did you kind of forget about it? Do you have any hype for it? What do you think?
Yeah, they announced the 2 Walking Dead games at the same time, and I was like, okay, obviously the Survios one is the one that I'm going to pay attention to. So I was paying attention to this game. Then all of a sudden, Saints and Sinners comes out. I play it. It's phenomenal. I cannot believe how good it is. And then I was just thinking, okay, well, Survios, they're probably making a different game. Then they released this trailer, and oh, look, it's the same game as Saints and Sinners, just made by a different group, and it has the characters from the TV show. Now, it looks cool. It doesn't look as good as Saints and Sinners seem to have looked to me, seem to have felt to me. I'm worried about that, but I know Survios is a top-notch VR developer. I don't think they'd be wasting their time here. However, I do have the one concern. Walking Dead games seem to come out in pairs, different games at the same time. They released Walking Dead, the awesome Telltale series. Wonderful, fantastic game. They also released like Walking Dead for the Wii U, and it's just a piece of hot garbage. I'm very scared that the similar kind of thing is going to happen here, where they release a phenomenal game like Saints and Sinners, and then we just get like a stinky pile of garbage. Although this doesn't look like it, and Survios isn't going to make a pile of garbage. But I really have concerns that they were going in one direction, and halfway through they were like, crap, we just got to make the same thing Saints and Sinners had, and they started changing course mid-game, and then they just got to put something out there so they don't lose their money. It looks fun. I the whole time I'm watching this trailer, I'm just thinking, why? We got Saints and Sinners. Why? And I hope they have a reason why.
Yeah, but I mean, this is so. If you're a fan of the TV show, like if you look at like the visuals, like the setting, and like like that cop car driving by really fast, and just the way they like the actual Walking Dead TV show where they had the like those little housing development where they make it into like a private fort and shit. Like I forget what season that was, but it seems like they kind of are doing that in this game, which that's kind of cool. But then at the same time, so Adam, I have a question. Like, were you ever a fan of the TV show? Like, where you knew these characters, you know their voices and everything? Because I know they have a couple of, like, the legitimate voices, but then they've also got a lot of people, like, faking the voices. Do you think that's going to really throw you off? Or do you think you'll just be like, I get it. It's like Iron Man. It's not freaking Robert Downey Jr., but he's got a pretty good fake Robert Downey Jr. impression?
Yeah, so I've never watched the TV show, never really been that interested. So for me personally, it's not going to make a difference. One thing that does give me hope is that Survios is wonderful. Electronauts is top notch. Raw Data is great. Sprint Vector is great. Even Battle Wake, one of their quote unquote worst games, is still pretty good. It's a little lackluster in what you could do, and it's a little repetitive, but all their games have been very good. So I have hope for that. And you kind of mentioned before you listened to us talk about Arizona Sunshine, and for me, there's a hole there that a game like this can exist because Arizona Sunshine sucked so bad, and I disliked it so much that this could fill that hole, and I hope they fill me up big time.
What do you think about, though, they took, like a lot of people I know, they're like, I was really into this game, man, but then they took the co-op out, and now I don't give an F about it anymore. I don't know how you are with, like, when it comes to multiplayer and co-op, because I'm actually, I mean, not co-op, but like multiplayer, co-op, and single player, because I'm more of a single player guy myself. I'm just, like, for me, it's like, I can't schedule when I'm going to play a game. So if it's a single player game, I don't have to worry about, is this guy going to be there in the right lobby at the right time? I just play these single player games because I can do it at my own leisure. But other people are like, dude, I'm 100% multiplayer. And if it doesn't have co-op or multiplayer, my interest level just freaking went down the drain. What do you think about that aspect?
Yeah, I mean, I think any game, honestly, if it has the ability for multiplayer and co-op, that's awesome, because I think it can really dramatically increase the value of the game for everyone involved. However, for me, it's not a deal breaker. You look at a lot, specifically the PSVR games, assuming this isn't cross-platform or anything like that. A lot of the PSVR games are multiplayer. They start out hot. I'm thinking Honor and Duty. That game came out. There were just droves and droves of players. They were everywhere. You were waiting for Battle Royale forever because every room was full. You gave it 3 months, nobody. You're playing with bots nonstop. And so I think they probably realized that, one, is going to happen. And two, with the co-op, there was one game that I forgot. Alex, maybe you remember. You and I played it. Dude had a gas mask. Killing Floor.
Killing Floor, yeah.
Killing Floor Incursion, really good game, great single player. But then once you added your co-op buddy, it had some glitches. And we got like 70% of the way through a level, and I got stuck in a wall. We had to redo the level. There was another issue where we got disconnected. And so if they can't do it well, I would rather them not do it at all, because it ruins the experience if you don't do it well. Of course, it's a trade-off. But so I would rather single player, and it, like they said, they focused in on it, they got it right, than trying to, cut their resources too thin, and then we just get like a janky game that doesn't work well.
Yeah, Alex, one thing I've heard about this game, so it's coming on September 29th, which that's freaking exciting, man, because it's less than 60 days away. This looks like a pretty freaking big game. In the year 2020, this is going to be one of the big ones. But one of the things that we saw, like if you look at the Steam page, the price is $29.99, but if you pre-order it now, you get it like 10% off, so it's like $26.99 or whatever. But when I see a price point like that, it's almost like little alarm bells start going off, because I think, oh no, this is 3 hours or 4 hours, because why is it only $29.99? What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's certainly the bargain bin discount that I hate that it has that effect on me. But yeah, you're right. When you see a game that's not at full price, you think it's not going to be a full game. I think it's a VR game. We're inherently going to have a shorter experience than what you would expect from a normal game. And then I also think it's a VR game. They're going to try to capture as many people as possible. And I don't think anybody wants to pay $60 for a VR game on the PlayStation Store, just because we've all been burned too many times. I'm happy that they're going for $30 here. Saints and Sinners is about $30. Dreams is about $30. So that's the thing, is the competition that you have now. All these games are $30 or less on the PSVR. You're not going to get away with a non-multiplayer game on the PSVR for $60. It's just not the market for it.
One thing I will say, like you guys haven't played Westworld Awakening, I don't think, and man, that game for me last year, even though nobody really talks about it, I feel it was one of the 5 best games of last year, period, because they just freaking nailed the atmosphere. They nailed the atmosphere like you wouldn't believe. When you, like, I don't know if you guys have seen Westworld on HBO, but like you go into that underground where it's all like all these offices are like glass doors everywhere, and it's like all black and red neon lights, and like freaking sparks are going off, people are bleeding, and there's like computer monitors with like realistic looking shit on the computer monitors. And I was just walking through this area and I was like, holy F, these guys just freaking knocked it out of the park from a pure atmosphere kind of vibe. And that game was $29.99. That game is 5 hours, but it's freaking awesome, right? And so here's one of my hopes. A lot of the same developers that worked on Westworld Awakening, they've been working on this. And like looking at these visuals, looking at like the different set and scenes that we're seeing here, like these different areas that they have. Like I saw in this trailer, they have like an area where they're like growing plants and crops, and they've got like nighttime area. Like there's a lot of stuff that's going on in here. Graphics might not be the best, but I'm telling you, man, people that are sleeping on this one, Servios might catch a lot of people sleeping on this. But one last PSVR game we'll get to, and then I'll let you guys go. I know this has been crazy long, but one last big one that is still going to be coming later this year to PlayStation VR. Now, you guys might not be the biggest fans of this one. Let me see if I can find the trailer that I want here. Let's see, what am I looking for?
It's not the another 2 floors of 18 floors, is it?
No, here it is. It is First Contact Entertainment, baby, developers of Firewall 0 Hour. So they've got this new game. It's called Solaris Off-World Combat. And this game was going to come out like August 29th on the Oculus Rift and the Oculus Quest, and then later this year, like December, for PlayStation VR. It's 8-player, it's online, multiplayer game. The thing is, Firewall 0 Hour, you guys are not a big fan of it, but other people is like, that's their best PlayStation VR game, period. So it's weird how there's these different experiences. I know like the servers and stuff were a big problem. Supposedly this game's going to have dedicated servers. This game was delayed on the Oculus Rift and the Oculus Quest. It's not coming out in this month of October. It's now coming out on September 24th. PlayStation VR version probably December. Do you guys give a rat's ass about this game? Are you going to completely avoid it because you just didn't really dig Firewall 0 Hour? Who wants to tackle it first? Alex?
I have my thoughts in line. I'll Adam, think about what you want to say. Here's my feeling about what First Contact Entertainment did with Firewall 0 Hour, and I'm afraid they're doing here because I'm looking at the trailer and I see what's going on. They are making a showcase for the aim controller rather than making a good game first that can use the aim controller, if that makes sense. You see what I'm saying? I want them to make a good game and then put the aim controller in it. I thought Farpoint was a good game, and then they put the aim controller in it, which is ironic because it's a game that was made around the aim controller. This Solaris, Off-World Combat, immediately I'm thinking, we're in space. We're floating around. You're not in space. You're not floating around. It's just a sci-fi, team-based, first-person shooter, deathmatch. You know what game already did that, and it was phenomenal, and nobody played it, and I'm very disappointed, was Space Junkies. Space Junkies was great. It was incredible. It didn't have the aim controller, but you didn't need it because it was a good game. Had they added the aim controller, it would have been even... Wait, maybe they did add it. I don't remember. But if they add the aim controller, it would have been even better. But it was a good game first with a fun controller. Like, that's not the priority. So looking at this trailer, I hate to be a downer on First Contact Entertainment. They seem like good peeps, but I'm just worried that they're going to be doing the same thing, that they're missing the key thing. Make a good game and then build the rest of the stuff around it. Don't just build the game around a controller and hope everybody's going to be happy because there's not much competition there.
What do you think, Adam, about them basically like taking money from Oculus? So they have this timed exclusivity where it's going to be on the Oculus Quest. It's going to be on the Oculus Store for Quest and also the Oculus Store for the Oculus Rift. But it's not going to be on Steam, not right away. And it's not going to be on PlayStation VR right away. Yet Firewall 0 Hour, that's what it's called, right? Firewall 0
yeah.
Hour. Okay. Mm-hmm. Firewall 0 Hour was originally a PlayStation VR game. It actually hasn't gone anywhere else. And they're kind of like abandoning their peeps there. I mean, are people in the PlayStation VR community, are they a little ticked off about that at all, or are they not really tripping on it?
So I haven't heard any strong complaints. I don't know, maybe it hasn't hit people yet. Or, I mean, you're right. There is a very tight-knit community of Firewall players. And you're right. It is their number one game. They love it. They always play it. They're like level 69 when everyone else is level 12. Like, they hardcore. But they just love it. But the rest of us, I feel like, I look at this Solaris or whatever it is, I could care less. I'm going to be balls deep in the PS5. It looks like a slightly faster version of Firewall 0 Hour. And I'm sure it's going to run the same. It would be one thing if the game came out and it wasn't like something was missing. But the game didn't even work when it came out. It was delayed. It took all this time. And then you couldn't, for the months, you weren't able, like Alex and I couldn't buddy up and play together. The servers took too long. Half the time you sit in the... I feel like the things that make Firewall bad, they're going to do here. I hope I'm wrong. But because of that, I think a lot of the PlayStation VR people, I could care less. It could take them a year to put it on the PlayStation Store. Go ahead. I don't know. I'm obviously a negative Nelly, but I've unfortunately played too much Firewall to be hyped for this thing. Every time we have a May Days where we play a game every day in May. It's a VR game. And every May Days, I dread Firewall. This year we pushed it to like the last week, hoping people wouldn't request it. But sure enough, everyone was like, Firewall, Firewall. So we played it, and we had a miserable time.
Yeah, it's amazing how there is such a dichotomy in people that just love it. But it seems like when it was broken and having problems, like it is so painful when you can't connect to a game and you're like spending all this time waiting around with the headset on, that you get burnt, as a player, and you just feel like used. Okay, bonus question. Sniper Elite VR. Remember this thing? Like, we got a trailer for this, and it was like a PlayStation VR headset and everything. Dude, I haven't heard a freaking peep about this game. The developer is Rebellion. I thought for sure this was coming this year. Like, I thought it was a freaking given. Are you guys kind of surprised that there was no peep about this? At least I haven't heard anything.
I'm hyped for this game. I got into Zombie Army 4 recently, another Rebellion joint, kind of in the same vein, I think the same universe as Sniper Elite. Here's what I like about Rebellion. They make these games and they keep it simple and they keep it fun. They're not throwing stuff in there that you don't need, no extraneous stuff. Rebellion also made Battlezone, which is one of my favorite PSVR games of all time. But they also made Arcus Path, which is one of my least favorite games of all time. Anyways, Battlezone's phenomenal. Rebellion, they're a really solid team, and this franchise is kind of what they've made their name off of. And they have aim controller implementation. I just don't see how it can fail. Because Rebellion knows what they're doing, and they're not wasting our time. They're making the game fun. It's the opposite of Firewall. They're making the game fun first, and then putting an aim controller in it. That's what this is going to be, and I'm pumped for it. And I want to learn more. I want it to come out. Maybe it's going to be a grand PlayStation 5 surprise. That's what I want, but I doubt it's going to happen.
Yeah, Adam, do you think there might be, like, we might still get an announcement for this, and it might still arrive this year, and, you know, maybe like a few weeks from now we'll find out this is coming in November or something like that?
So one thing that gives me a little hope is I don't know how much you follow, because you cover so much VR, it's hard to stay on top of everything. But the way the PlayStation Store works is you have an idea, possibly, but you really don't know when anything's going to drop almost. It's like every Tuesday it's like Christmas. You have no friggin' idea. Oh, I've had weeks where I didn't think there was anything, and there were some friggin' incredible games, and 4 or 5 games drop. You have no idea. There was no hype for it. There was no announcement. It was just they dropped as if it was nothing, and they were great games. So I don't know. It would be awesome if it were this year, but heck, it could be next month on a random Tuesday. It may drop. I have no clue. But I do hope that they give some, at least say, hey, it's in the works and it is coming. It looks incredible. I love the aim controller. This game looks perfect for that genre of game and perfect for virtual reality.
Okay, and then the final question I have for you guys is what, like, of the upcoming games for PlayStation VR, like what's your number one most wanted? I mean, you got Hitman 3. Maybe we should eliminate Hitman 3 from possibility, just because if everybody's going to pick Hitman 3. But like there's stuff like this, Star Wars Squadrons, you got Sniper Elite VR, you got Budget Cuts is still coming to PlayStation VR, you got that Walking Dead Onslaught that's coming. There might be some that are slipping my mind right now, but those seem to be like Solaris, of course. Those are pretty much the big ones that I can think of. I was just curious what your number one most wanted is, other than Hitman.
Well, I'm glad you showed me the trailer for the Rogue Squadrons, because I totally forgot about that in that discussion, but I am super hella hyped for this. I love it's about time Star Wars put out something good, am I right? Aside from The Mandalorian, I've had no interest in Star Wars recently, and this looks phenomenal. I'm just watching this trailer. Sorry. I loved X-Wing as a kid. I played that game like crazy. I loved Rogue Squadrons. Rogue Squadron for the GameCube and Nintendo 64. It's just all so fun, and I'd love to get in there in VR. And goodness gracious, my hopes are so high for it, and I'm so scared they're going to ruin it, but I don't see how they can if they just put a good team behind it, and it sounds like they have.
Well, look at the interiors of the cockpits and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're so, each different ship has a very different look to it. And see, we got that one little Star Wars thing that was on, like, the Battlefield thing or whatever. Remember that little Star Wars thing that was on PlayStation VR? And you could play it for, like, 10 minutes or whatever. And now this is actually Electronic Arts. They've been completely allergic to VR their entire lives. And they're spending millions of dollars on this thing. I mean, I know it's a flat game, but it looks pretty freaking badass, and the backgrounds look pretty incredible. Okay, Adam, what about you? If you had to pick one VR game coming to PlayStation VR, but not Hitman 3, or maybe Hitman 3 isn't that game for you anyways?
No, it's definitely that game for me. At first, I was like, dang it, because you took away the easy answer. And so that's unfortunate. So I will admit that I have been doing most of my research for the PS5, and I've been hyping up the PS5 games, looking at that. So I haven't been as focused on VR. I think of the ones, and one that's coming soon this month is Vader Immortal, and it looks pretty good with the Beat Sabers. They've got a lot of mechanics, like just the combat mechanics that look, assuming that they get the controls and the tracking right, that look like it could be a lot of fun, fast-paced, very combative. And so I think that could definitely be not only soon, so I know when it's coming, but it looks like it could be a lot of fun. Obviously, budget cuts is going to be good. This game, I don't want to use the same one Alex said, but it looks very solid. The Solaris, whatever.
Yeah. So we got some good stuff coming, so it's not too bad. All right, guys. Well, man, it has been almost 2 hours. It's been pretty long, I know that. And thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I mean, it was really super awesome. I'm glad to have you guys aboard because this is a super interesting time. If you're a fan of PlayStation, if you're a fan of Sony, PlayStation VR, how they're going to navigate this over the next 6 to 8 months, like even going into next year. It's just going to be an interesting thing, man. I'm excited for it. I don't know about PlayStation 5, but I know you guys are into it. That's why you got PlayStation PS5, the podcast. Did you want to talk for a second about, well, actually, here's a question for you. So this podcast and the PlayPSVR podcast, like you can go to like iTunes and stuff and get it. You guys do some stuff on YouTube as well. Are all your individual podcasts on YouTube as well? Do you do video versions of it? I haven't really been keeping up with your YouTube channel. Like, what are you guys doing over there?
I'll let Adam take this away because he's got a better face for video.
That's right, and you've got the better voice. So yeah, we do have 2 YouTube channels, Play PSVR and Play PS5, and so we do probably since episode 60 or 50 of Play PSVR, we've been putting them on YouTube. So they are available there. And we do like some game reviews and we have like weekly streams for VR and things of that nature. And we're going to be doing the same for PS5. To be honest, most of our time now is being dedicated to the PS5 and doing hype videos and things of that nature in terms of YouTube. But we definitely still are going to have content for Play PSVR. And we're just going to kind of split the two. When big news comes up, some weeks we're going to have 2 podcasts. It's going to be fun. But that's what happens when you have you got a good gaming community and 2 very, very clutch and impressive pieces of hardware that you love and enjoy.
I'm glad you guys are hyped for PlayStation 5 because you know what? When there is a new console, I mean, there's nothing like new console smell, right? When you freaking get the thing home and you open it up for the first time and you're taking off the little pieces of tape and everything's in plastic and it's all freaking brand new and you never have any idea how to put everything back in the box the way you got it. But it's like, laying it out on the ground and opening everything up and getting all the little doodads out of there. It's always pretty fun and sweet. I wish I was into it, man. Check this out. I got PlayStation 1 the day it came out. PlayStation 2, spent the night in front of a Target in the windy, rain, storming, horrible night that I spent in front of Target to get PlayStation 2. PlayStation 3 day 1, PlayStation 4 day 1, and I gotta say, unless some miracle happens, like, I guess it would take like Farpoint 2, just looking freaking unbelievable. Like, it would take something major, man, and I don't think it's gonna happen, but I think I'm going to miss out on it. But it's exciting for you guys, right, to cover the birth of this new powerful console and to get it and to explore the new games and stuff. So that's going to be pretty exciting, right?
Yeah, and I think the hype hasn't caught up with you yet, man. I mean, that's kind of what we want to do with this podcast right now initially is I want to lean into the hype, get myself excited, because it just makes it so much more fun. We get this moment once every 5 or 6 years where we can get excited about a new console release, and now I can try to be on the edge of it and have the most fun possible with it. But that being said, due to the weird times of what's going on, the information's coming out at a snail's pace. It's being trickle-fed to us, and I think that's kind of dulled the hype train, slowed it down a bit. But they're going to be going full bore here soon. I expect Gamescom is happening in a couple weeks. I think into September. That's usually when these things kind of pick up the full head of steam, and we're going to have stuff going through that holiday year-end sale rush. So you say you're not going to get one day one, but I know you're going to, man. The hype's going to catch up to you. The hype's going to get you, and we'll be here to talk to you when you pick it up. We'll do the unboxing video with you, man. We'll talk you through the process because we know you're going to be there day one.
Dude, I don't know, man. I'm telling you, that future is so incredibly... I won't say it's impossible, but it's not very likely. But yeah, I don't know. Anything's possible. But yeah, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up, man, for this 2-hour banger of an episode. Thank you so much, Adam and Alex from PlayPSVR, PlayPS5. If you guys have not checked out their podcast, let me tell you, I am in a cubicle farm 6 days a week, and it is boring as hell. And if I didn't have podcasts, I would go absolutely nuts. And it's nice when they're on iTunes and stuff like that, because like a lot of podcasts are only on YouTube, and I'm not paying for the extra YouTube app. So it's like wearing down the battery of my phone like a mofo. But you get it on iTunes, your battery don't wear down at all. It don't use no battery. It'll last forever. You can listen to tons of podcasts. And you guys have like 80 something episodes of PlayPSVR. And there's a lot of people that have never heard of you guys, which is a goddamn shame. It's a crying shame, because you guys have a really cool vibe. The way you guys interact together, like Adam's crazy comedy and just the crazy things that come out of his mouth. And then like Alex, it's always funny because I'm listening to Alex, and Alex is like, what is Adam going to say this time? And he's got to react to it. It's so cool. You guys have a great personality and vibe and just chemistry together. How did you guys meet anyway? I've never even heard that story.
Yeah, so we actually met in graduate school.
Oh, okay.
And so I saw him. I was like, oh no, look at this kid. I stayed on the other side of the room as long as possible, but there were only 4 people in our class. And so I had to talk to him at some point. I cheated off his homework, got straight C's. He's stupid. Don't cheat off him.
No, the funny thing about grad school is that usually when you go to grad school, you've already gone through college, you've built that independence, but it was really weird. Adam was the only kid in grad school whose mom took him to the first day of class, and she walked up to me and slid a 20 in my pocket and said, there's more where that came from. Be friends, be nice to my boy. And that's kind of what kicked this whole thing off. I've been financing the podcast and all my PSVR from the money I get from Adam's mom. I work for her more than anything, so... Yeah, that's how we met, grad school, and I think we've had that vibe from the get-go, whether we're on the podcast or not. And as much as I love playing VR stuff, I love just hearing the absurdity of things that Adam says. So this is really a great avenue for me to enjoy the ridiculousness of Adam as he fumbles over idioms on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's an awesome show, man. I love your guys' show, and I'll definitely be checking out How many have you done? A few episodes of PlayPS5 already? I haven't checked that one out yet.
Yeah, so we have 1 episode published, and I'm going to publish another one tomorrow. So only 2. You could get in on the ground floor.
Invest early.
Yeah, invest early and often. But yeah, that is PlayPSVR and PlayPS5, the podcast. That, of course, is Alex and Adam. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of VR365. And that's going to go ahead and do it. So we'll go ahead and see everybody next time. Take it easy. Later.
Thanks so much. You're the man.
Thank you. You rock.